No one goes to Hank's for his spreadsheets. They go for a darn good pizza. Lately, though, the shop's been quiet, so Hank decides to bring back the $1 slice. He asks Copilot in Microsoft Excel to look at his sales and costs and help him see if he can afford it. Copilot shows Hank where the money's going and which little extras make the dollar slice work. Now Hank has a line out the door. Hank makes the pizza, Copilot handles the spreadsheets. Learn more at m365copilot.com/work.
At first, I didn't think it was real. I woke up to this blinding light, and I was transported to another place. Pluto TV! Then I heard a voice.
Come with me if you want to live.
There were thousands of movies and shows, and they were all free.
The truth is our secret.
It's just so beautiful.
On Pluto TV, free streaming of Terminator 2, Fringe, Arrow, The 100, and The X-Files may cause excitement, loss of sleep, and sudden belief in extraterrestrials. No credit cards or alien encounters necessary. Pluto TV. Stream now, pay never.
For the moments that matter, choose Curad Naturals. Infused with aloe vera and vitamin E, Curad Naturals bandages protect your unexpected scrapes, cuts, and burns while also moisturizing your skin. Find deeper relief with natural ingredients you can trust to start the healing. When life's surprises call for the best, choose Curad, a deeper level of care. Shop the full collection on Amazon or visit Curad.com to learn more.
Hey, it's JJ, and welcome to Ask the Health Expert. But this isn't just any old Ask the Health Expert session. This is your bonus session. Yes, it's the weekend, and because it's the weekend, we are going to take some time with an amazing expert. So be on the lookout for these Saturday Ask the Health Expert bonus sessions where we're going to go deep into an amazing subject with an incredible expert to give you actionable items that you can put into your life. Today, I am interviewing my shero. I've got Dr. Louise Gittleman with me today, and she is an icon in the health and wellness field. She holds an MS in nutrition education from Columbia. She's a CNS, a certified nutrition specialist from the American College of Nutrition, and she's got her PhD in holistic nutrition. And she is the award-winning author of more than 36 books with multiple New York Times bestsellers. She was also the chief nutritionist at the pediatric clinic at Bellevue Hospital and the former director of nutrition at Pritikin Longevity Center in Santa Monica. And she is a highly respected international leader in diet, nutrition, and environment. And honestly, every time I talk to her, I'm like, I study this every day, and I'm still kind of, every time I talk to her, I get new things. And today, as you listen to this, will be just like that. In fact, you will want to have a pen and paper ready. I took 2 pages of notes while I was talking to her. We're going to be talking today about radical longevity, the powerful plan to sharpen your brain, strengthen your body, and reverse the symptoms of aging. And you are going to want to grab this book. There are so many gems in here. And what's great about the book is she's giving you so much of this, and it doesn't cost much money. A lot of it is, it's like very little money or free, which is so unusual when you're looking at things that you can do for longevity. She also is giving away her Are You a Copperhead guide, and you can get that at jjvirgin.com/copper. All right. I am so excited to share Louise Gittleman with you. Stay tuned. I'll be right back. All right. I'm here with one of my heroes, Louise Gittleman, and I am so excited. First of all, I love all your books, especially Fat Flush. That I think was my favorite, but now I have a new favorite. Of course I have a new favorite because radical longevity, like you wrote this for me, right?
I wrote it for all of us, those of us going into elderhood, JJ.
Well, I love everything talking offline with you about the shift and how we really need to stop apologizing for our age. And I'll share a little bit. I was starting to feel really like, oh my gosh, I'm like getting too old in this career. And, everyone wants to hear from the 30-year-olds and the 20-year-olds. And then I went, wait a minute, I'm the OG. You're the OG, right? I mean, wouldn't you want to hear from the people that were there at the beginning? Yeah, right. So there you go. I'm really reframing all this. So this interview is coming at a perfect time. And one of the things that you say is that we need a paradigm shift in which your biology is not your biography. So I'd love you to dig into that.
Well, first of all, I think we would agree that aging is a privilege. It's a privilege that's denied to far too many of us. And in so doing, and if you're shifting that description in your own mind, then you realize that we should be looking at aging as a sacred privilege. It's sacred. It's something that needs to be revered. And we can overturn anything if we have the right tools, whether it's body, mind, and spirit. And that's where my book comes in handy, because we actually target those tools, target the organs, the systems, the gland, so that you can override whatever is happening in your genes, because your genes are not your destiny. However, the people that do have the best genes really have an unfair advantage. So we have to duplicate what those people that are the super agers are actually doing, which is lowering the amount of iron in our blood, low ferritin, low HGH, low human growth hormone, believe it or not, and high HDL. And if we can do that, we're on our way to an age in time when there's vitality, there's longevity, and there's resilience. And that's what it is. It's all about bending and not breaking.
Okay, I have to unpack all of what you just said. First off, iron, because I think that this is just not talked about enough, where we need to monitor ferritin and make sure that it's not make sure it's where it should be. So could we talk about that? Because I think people are still taking multivitamins that have iron in it when they're postmenopausal. So what should you be testing? What should you be looking for on your blood levels? And what should you do about it if it's elevated?
Well, the thing that I found so interesting is I was reading about the eldest people in the world, the longest living populations. They all have lower ferritin levels. They have lower ferritin than the levels that are shown even on a typical blood test in terms of the reference ranges. So you want to look at a range that's between 50 and 70 on your blood test. You'll see that up to 300 on some blood tests is considered normal, but that's actually normal for an aging and unhealthy population. So when you take a look at the superagers, they have low iron. And how do they keep low iron? They drink wine at meals, they drink coffee, and they drink tea, which are iron blockers. So I say bring on the good drinks, because they
I love you. See, this is you're my hero.
Well, you're my shiro. But the point being, the point being is nobody's talking about that. They're talking about plant-based diets, and it's not just that it's a plant-based diet that's healthy. We should be eating more plants. I agree, but there's not one diet that fits for everybody. But the point is, you have to lower the iron, and you do that by yearly ferritin tests. And if your stored iron is too high, you start donating blood. The healthiest thing you can do is start to donate blood once or twice or even 3 times a year until you get to the 50-70 sweet spot. And that's a sweet spot for longevity, for health, and for the reduction of cognitive decline, because iron is associated with Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, and ALS. And you'll find all that in Radical Longevity. I documented hook, line, and sinker.
All right. Next up, you did one and I scratched my head on this one. You said low HGH.
It's so interesting. There was a recent study that was done at the Mount Sinai College of Medicine, and it was actually at Albert Einstein, and they found that all the people that lived beyond 100 had low human growth hormone. And I think that's because it feeds iron, number one. It's connected with excess copper, number two, and both copper and iron are found in the blood of people that start to take excess, or that start to exhibit excess symptoms of dementia. So I think it's connected to the copper and the iron conundrum that we're finding. And I find that
interesting.
Exceedingly
I think
important.
Remember about 10 years ago when doing human growth hormone injections was all the rage in longevity medicine, and everyone was doing that. And what I noticed with clients who were doing it, because they were all going, I was in Palm Springs, they were all going to this one doctor who was big in the anti-aging circuit and teaching this, and they were all becoming insulin resistant. That's just what I saw. I'm like going, wow, this is really not working for you,
No. And now we're finding out why. So the idea here is, and this was what was so interesting when I started looking at the research, is that the Mediterranean peoples, the people that have longest lived in the Mediterranean basin, the people from Sardinia, people from Okinawa, the superagers with the Ashkenazi Jews here in this country that are being studied by Nir Barzilay, they all have low human growth hormone. So as you get older, low human growth hormone is a protective factor for longevity. So that was I found so very interesting. And also to get rid of your excess iron and your excess copper, which seems to be related to the entire situation.
Okay. And the final one. So you said high HDL. So what would you consider high HDL? I would assume it's different for men and women. And what are the things that you're having people do to raise that?
I love the exercise. I think exercise is exceedingly important. I think the right omega-3 to omega-6 ratio is extremely important. And I think that using chromium is extremely important. So everything connected to blood sugar and blood sugar regulation can also help HDL levels. And people don't make that connection.
Now, I like to say that our body isn't a bank account, it's a chemistry lab, but it's also a history book. So not only are we storing all these traumas, we're also storing all these toxins and all this stuff that's gone on for years and years and years if we aren't getting it out. So what do we do with all of that? As we're aging, I would assume that we've got all these toxins. If we have not gotten them out, it's just going to accelerate the aging process. Yeah.
So you have to lessen the toxic load. I have a whole chapter on taking on toxins. The first thing you do is you lessen your iron, and not just giving blood that we spoke about, but making sure that your vitamins and minerals do not have extra iron in them. Also look at your cooking utensils and throw away the cast iron. JJ, I'm telling everybody to cast off the cast iron because that's an easy way to really get excess iron in your system. And it's an easy swap to make with stainless steel or something like glass or even glass glazed clay. So getting rid of the iron is number one. That seems to be very important in terms of lowering the risk of heart disease particularly. So you want to get the ferritin level. What was that sweet spot? 50 to 70 on a typical blood test. That would be number one. The number two, you have to cast away the aluminum. There have been over 150 published papers on the connection between aluminum and Alzheimer's, which seems to be the disease that most baby boomers are most conscious of and most concerned about. So you want to get rid of the aluminum foil in your kitchen using maybe parchment paper. And aluminum is a non-magnetic metal. So if you take a magnet and you start looking at that magnet and start testing all your pots and pans, if it sticks, it's okay. If it's not sticking, it's aluminum. You want to get rid of anything that's aluminum. And I would also be conscious about copper, which nobody's talking about. When I started writing the book, I got a gift with a letter from a gentleman who is involved actually in the study of genetics at the University of Michigan, George Brewer. He believes that the modern epidemic of Alzheimer's is due to excess copper. Divalent copper, not food-based copper that you get in your foods and your avocados and your nuts and your seeds and your chocolate, but divalent or synthetic copper that's coming from the copper water pipes that's in 2/3 of the country's homes these days. So look at the copper connection because he believes it's dramatically connected to the rise of Alzheimer's in the developed countries. Underdeveloped countries do not have the problems we have with our brain and cognitive dysfunction, like India and Japan, for example. But when people move from Japan to Hawaii, they start to approximate the same level of dementia. So copper is another one that nobody's looking at. And that means looking at your vitamins and minerals and getting rid of anything that contains extra copper. You want food-based copper. And if you have a diagnosed lack of copper, then you can always take some kind of extra supplement that may be some sort of glandular that you can get that has a little bit of liver in it to get that extra food-based copper. So it's getting rid of the copper, the iron, the aluminum. And I think that's extremely important for people. Getting rid of the parasites, looking at the EMF connection, all that is covered in the book. And I think it's so important that people recognize that the dietary component is exceedingly important as well. Lots of vegetables, a moderate amount of fruits, and watch your blood sugar. That's where berberine comes in handy, not metformin.
Berberine is one of the most underrated, awesome supplements. Oh my gosh.
Known to man.
Yeah, let's talk a little bit about berberine, right? Because you never hear people using this one. And it's so I think of berberine, like everyone talks about curcumin and resveratrol. And I'm like, gosh, berberine is one of the most amazing things. And yes, why would you go over to metformin? Why would you do that if you could use that and maybe use some vinegar on your meals as well? So let's dig into berberine and why it's so awesome.
Well, I love berberine because it helps to manage blood sugar levels. It's very balancing for blood sugar, at least 500 milligrams 3 times a day without any side effects, which metformin has in spades. It's also very helpful because it's an anti-candida, an anti-yeast supplement. It's an antimicrobial, antibacterial. So I think it is kind of like a triple whammy, for example. And I think that people that have a predisposition to diabetes, particularly type 2 diabetes, really need to add that to their regimen. It's one of the key elements that I talk about in Radical Longevity because it's so important to balance your blood sugar as you get older. I mean, that leads to all kinds of issues, and we're finding that people that have diabetes have very little protective mechanisms in their system like the longevity and the survival gene. So blood sugar is very, very important, and it's something that I know that's near and dear to your heart.
Oh, yeah. Now, stem cells. Because you talk about how you can make your body produce up to 50% more age-defying, youth-defying stem cells. So how on earth would you do that?
By sleeping better. Sleep is so important for restoring stem cell viability, and I think it's important to take extra vitamin D. Vitamin K is important in that regard, maybe a little goose liver, which is a very high source of vitamin K. And I also think it's important for people to have uninterrupted sleep at night. So perhaps doing a little bit of earthing or grounding is important as well. And if you can't go to sleep, you try to use a little bit of tryptophan, a little bit of theanine, or even take a little salt. I find a lot of people as they get older get very acidic. Their mind is very active. So taking a quarter teaspoon of baking soda and a little bit of water before you go to sleep will shut down that overactive mind and give you very deep sleep, which is restorative and regenerative to the stem cells. Now, people can also take stem cells.
I have never heard that before.
Oh, just stick with me, my
I've
love.
never heard the quarter teaspoon of baking soda. Man,
it works like a charm.
That is incredible.
People get very acidic. When you're too acidic, overly acidic, you need to alkalinize. And the best way to do that at night is with a little bit of baking soda. It works like a charm. People that have done everything, every vitamin, mineral, and herb known to man, just take my little baking soda trick and can sleep through the night.
Wow. I'm trying that tonight. Everything I can do to hack my sleep and do better on sleep, I'm all in for.
Well, you've got a brilliant mind, and that mind needs to be slowed down a little bit. So that's where the salt.
I have to
soda.
hit it with. It's ridiculous what I do at night to get this thing to shut off. And I have to really shut down all tech, anything that could be business, marketing, anything that'll light my brain up, because I will just be up all night. Like even last night, I woke up at 5 a.m. and I was like, no, you're not getting up and writing. I was like, I wanted to get up and write. I was like, I woke up, bing, and went, oh my gosh, there's the next thing I need to do. And I was like, you're not writing at 5 a.m. You're just going to stay in bed for an hour. So, and literally I take I do Epsom salts baths. I take magnesium. I do GABA and 5-HTP and
you're going to love my salt. You're going to love my baking soda remedy. You're just going to love it.
I am so excited.
You can use it every night. And these are simple things that don't cost anything. That's what I packed this book with. All the most simplistic things that are kind of little genius tricks that I've learned along the way from my 84-year-old teacher when I first studied with her many, many moons ago that actually work. And also, of course, making sure that your vitamins and minerals contain no excess copper, which is very important to shut down a very overactive but brilliant mind.
Yeah, I love that so much because so much of the stuff when you look at like longevity is really expensive therapies. I mean, it's crazy what's out there because, you got to a point in your life where you worked hard. Now you have the money. You're like, okay, but I don't have the life I want. So what do I need to do? So I love the fact that you've packed this full of things that don't cost a lot of money. And when you really look at it, I mean, the first place you've got to start is with diet and lifestyle. So when we talk about food, like what would you say are the key foods here really focus on? And you talk about a forbidden food that can make your joints and your skin and your eyes younger. So of course I have to know that one. I'm just fingers crossed. I'm hoping it's cheesecake, but I'm betting it's not.
I wish. My favorite food is cheese, but it's the highest in advanced glycation end product. So goodbye cheese.
I know. So sad.
No, it's hemp puree. It's hemp seed oil. We're finding it's very high in gamma-linolenic acid, which is an essential fatty acid. And as you know, I made my career about writing about the right kinds of fats and really pinpointing sugar as a big demon in the American diet. So taking 1 to 2 tablespoons of hemp seed oil a day, get organic hemp seed oil at the health food store, will do wonders for eczema, psoriasis, and your joints. It's also good because it's been found to absorb radiation, and we need all the help we can get with all the non-ionizing and ionizing radiation that we're living in. So that is a real, just like the baking soda, this doesn't cost very much. 1 to 2 tablespoons a day will make the joints very, very non-aching, will make them very smooth sailing, and will also be very good for the skin, good for your sex life as well.
Nice. Wow. Okay. I'm making little notes of all the things that I'm going to be ordering right away and getting. I think the thing that I'm in love with the most here is, and again, as I, over the last couple of years, I started to kind of notice, wow, like I think what happened was I went to an event a couple of years ago, and it was a big wellness event. And, I kind of felt like people would know who I was, right? And
they should.
And I was
as well, they should.
Well, and I was with all these 25, 30-year-olds, and they're like, "Oh, what do you do?" And I'm like, "Oh, I kind of paved the way so that you could have a career," is what I did, I'm kind of going, So, but I thought, gosh, these people, did I just become irrelevant? Am I old? What happened? And so it's taken a couple of years to kind of flip that and go, okay, how do you, as you age, now step into, this is the best time of life. I'm more relevant than ever. What I know, my experience and information matters. That's the other shift beyond the diet and exercise. I think knowing that you have a purpose and you're connected are so key.
Yeah, it's knowing you have a purpose, knowing that you're connected, because social connection is even more important than diet and exercise as you get older, believe it or not. The people that live the longest have the best social connections. They have a purpose in life, whether that's still working or volunteerism. Sometimes they do restrictive time eating. Sometimes they do intermittent fasting, but not totally. They do it intermittently. They intermittent fast because that's not good for the bones, not good for your muscle strength and so forth. And they really give gratitude. They're very high on expressing their gratitude and thanks that they're on the planet living this long, because I go back to my original assumption, and that is that aging is a privilege, and it's a privilege that's denied to far too many. So it's a sacred obligation to take care of your body, mind, and spirit as best you can.
Okay, you threw one more bomb out there that now we have to unpack. About intermittent fasting, because, this is one of those things now that everyone is using as a path to longevity. So, and then you just threw out something about it messing with your bones. And we should really talk about bones and muscles, because this is so key as you age. My whole theory is, as we're aging, your metabolism's slowing down because you're losing muscle, which you don't have to. So let's dive into that.
Oh yeah. So this is what I've learned. I'm almost learning the hard way. As you know, we start to lose muscle mass after the age of 40. It's like 1%, I think, per year. So every decade, it's 8 to 10%, from my understanding. So you want to do everything.
That is a crazy amount, by the way. 10%, that is an insane amount of muscle mass.
Every decade. So you have to do whatever you can to preserve lean muscle mass. You do that through weight training, through proper exercise. And I find that when people do heavy intermittent fasting, they're losing a lot of protein. I take blood tests consistently with my clients, JJ. And everybody should have at least a 7.2 on their protein. I'm finding people that intermittent fast, or do it a little more extensively and more severely, are losing much more protein, and they're down at about 6.0 to 6.1. So I have everybody now taking amino acids and not doing intermittent fasting every single day. They're doing it maybe once or twice a week, and I'm seeing my protein levels come up and their muscles getting stronger. So either you take more protein.
Excellent. That's actually how I do it. Mm-hmm.
Is that how you keep going? So knowing what I know, I take an amino acid supplement. I'm very big on an extra amino acid supplements because my system burns very heavily. My mind works very similarly to yours. So I've got to do whatever I can to preserve the lean muscle mass. And you've got to do the exercise, which you've got down, but you need to take more protein, not less, as you get older, and make sure that you're digesting it properly. It's as simple as that. So all these fads that you may be falling into. the ketogenic, the keto.
Yeah, you just said something key too. Digesting protein, right? You threw that one. You're throwing so many pearls out. I want to make sure we underscore this because you need the protein. Cycle intermittent fasting. I believe we need to cross-train our diet, just like we cross-train our exercise, cross-train your diet. You don't do the same thing every day. So
you
a couple
don't.
days, right?
Mix it up, mash it up.
Fasting.
I love it.
Yeah,
we're on this.
Mix and mash.
Let's coin that. Let's copyright that. But I totally agree with you. So what may have been right in your younger day is not right in your 50s and 60s and going into your 70s. Your body
let's
changes.
face it too. In your younger days, you could get away with stuff. Like now the margin for error is gone. So that's why I say, like in your younger days, you need to lose a little weight. You didn't eat for a day. You lost some weight. You were fine. Nowadays, you didn't sleep for a couple days. You were fine.
You got away with it.
You got away with it. We don't have that margin for error anymore. There is another
You don't
key
have
here.
the reserve. You don't
have the reserves.
But that's where taking care of the brain is important. And I have a whole chapter on taking care of the brain and making sure that we don't lose any neurons. We don't want to lose any of those precious brain cells. So that's where getting rid of the extra copper, the divalent, synthetic, inorganic copper is important. Measuring your ferritin is important. And there's a last thing, and that's getting a little bit of lithium in your diet. Getting a little bit of lithium. I take
it every day. Now, would you say take it or are you eating it? What are you doing?
Well, it's you can't eat it.
Where would you get it? What foods? Is it in a food or where is it?
It's in certain water. In 5 states of the union, it's in the water. And that's where they found people that were drinking this lithium-rich water were not coming down with cognitive dysfunction later in life. So I take 20 milligrams of lithium orotate, 20 mgs, because that seems to be the sweet spot. There you go. We're on the same page. We're on the same page.
Amazing. Well, you mentioned one more thing that I want to make sure we unpack before we jump off. And that is, you said, and digesting your protein. And I think that people don't realize that as they age, that gets more challenging. So it's not enough just to eat your protein. You got to digest it too. So can you talk on that?
Well, either you take some hydrochloric acid, which becomes deficient after the age of 40, or you take a little bit of apple cider vinegar and water. Either or is what I would suggest that people do, because you need to digest your protein. You're not what you eat, you are what you digest. And protein and calcium and iron are 3 things that need a little extra HCl.
Great. Awesome. So you've talked a lot about copper. And you have a guide that you're going to be giving everybody. I'm going to put it at jjvirgin.com/copper. Are you a copperhead? Now, I will tell you, when I read this thing, I thought that's cute because you've got red hair. Are you a copperhead? Ha ha. And now I get it.
Not a real copperhead.
Well, maybe one day. I mean, I was like not a real blonde, but I used to be. So, tell us about this guide that I want everyone to make sure they get. Are you a copperhead?
So copper is a double-edged mineral. The connection between copper and longevity is explained in the book because it's actually new research, and that's the research that came from George Brewer at the University of Michigan. But when I talk about are you a copperhead, I connect copper with estrogen dominance because copper goes with estrogen the way zinc goes with progesterone. So I want people to balance the two, and I tell you what the ratios are, where it's coming from, and how to tweak your lifestyle so that you're not stockpiling excess copper, whether it's organic or inorganic. So I think it'll be very helpful for your community. I hope so, at least. That's my wish. That we all learn. That we all learn whether that we all unpack the copper connection to health, healing, longevity, and beauty. It's a misconnection that nobody's been writing about.
Well, you've been writing about things that nobody's been writing about for years, and then really just bringing things out into nutrition that then became what we all did. So, I mean, you really paved the way so much. And so many of these things we talked about today are critical and not being talked about. I mean, just the iron part of this, I'm amazed isn't more out there.
That's what amazed me. That's why I had to write this 37th book, JJ, because nobody's talking about iron or copper. They knew a little bit about aluminum, but the iron and copper connection were absolutely huge. And now we know about the growth hormone and everything that it takes to live long and healthy into our centenarian years, which is what I hope for you and I, that we'll see each other on the other side of 100.
So, of course we will. And we'll go and work out and lift some weights together. So one final thing about this, because you found all this information that really isn't readily available out there. How did you go about researching this book and finding all of these things?
It came to me. I must have a good connection with upper management. It just came to me. George Brewer contacted me about the copper. Somebody said to me, I just read a book about dumping the iron and it was life-changing. And I said, all this nobody's talking about. I'll shed a light where nobody has shed a light before, and to kind of be a way shower for longevity. When you're in your 70s, there's not a lot that you don't know about nutrition, especially when you've been in the field for 40 years, as you can well appreciate. But this was so new and so innovative. I said, I've got to do a book that features this and everything else we need to do for our heart, for our brain, for our hormones, for our hair, for our skin, for our nails, and for our sex drive. So it's all in radical longevity. And you've given me a lovely endorsement, so I thank you so much.
I was like so thrilled about this because it's like I really, again, feel like you wrote it for me. And I so appreciate you taking the time out and sharing all of this. Clearly, I need to have you back on more often. It's amazing the amount of pearls. And I mean, I study this stuff every day, and these are all these things. I was writing furious notes because I didn't know that. Didn't know that. So it's incredible. You're like a nutrition detective out there.
Well, I've studied with the best of the best of the best, and I'm really pleased that I sat at the heels just like you did with a master. And so I've gleaned a lot of secrets, and it's my pleasure now to share it far and wide.
Well, thank you for your generosity. And again, if you go to jjvirgin.com/copper, you'll be able to grab the Are You a Copperhead guide and get that. And then make sure you pop over to Amazon and grab Radical Longevity. And thank you so much for being with me today. I so appreciate it.
I so appreciate it. You're my Shiro. Talk to you soon.
See ya. All right. So how many pages of notes did you take from that one? I am trying the 1/4 teaspoon of baking soda tonight. Anything to quiet my brain down at night. So be sure you grab the guide. Now you know for sure why you want to check on the copper and the iron and the HDLs and the blood sugar. So many pearls. Anyway, jjvirgin.com/copper, and her book is Radical Longevity. And again, that's the powerful plan to sharpen your brain, strengthen your body, and reverse the symptoms of aging. And I will be back next week with another interview. If you've not subscribed yet, make sure you do it. Subscribe to jj.com. See you next time.